So can we go one by one and start with who you are and your involvement in Hunt Wheels?
Yeah.
Luisa, you can go first.
Yeah. Ken told me that you were like you heard the reveal meeting.
Yes.
So yeah, so you know a bit what I really what I said when I it's just 3 years ago at this time of the year, I came to Brighton to have my interview with Hunt. We spent a nice weekend. It was like we started to just the conversation months before, but it was like, you know, when they read my like email, Tom told me afterwards that they said, oh God, we cannot really afford to have Luisa with us. How can it be just for us having Luisa? But she looks like, oh wow, we want to meet her. So after a couple of months, they called me back. They already just told me something like in the months before. But then they said, oh, why don't you come anyway over? We don't know if you can really start to work with us, but why don't you come over and we meet? So we start like a bit of, yeah, we know each other. So 3 years ago, I came to Brighton and we had a very nice time and a very nice weekend. We had the interview. We went to a race that Ollie was doing in the Preston Park, so in a criterium around the velodrome in the park. We had a really nice time, and after 2 weeks they called me back and said, well, Louise, actually we thought about that, we want you on board. So is how it started. And you know, in August I definitely moved to Brighton. I was in Vicenza before. At that time I was working for Campagnolo, and I was in the R&D department of Campagnolo, working on wheels like Bora, the Fulcrum wheel. And but when I started to work with for Hunt, we soon went straight to the project of the 48 limitless, because that was what I really that was a kind of idea that I had in my mind since like years, because when already at the time in 3D, where I started to look at wheels and looking at aerodynamic wheels, doing a lot of wind tunnel stuff, making a lot of research. At that time, Zip was, you know, the reference. So I've been doing a lot of studies on their profile, their patents, a lot of things. So I knew that to go to that kind of like aerodynamic range of wheels, we should really follow some of design concept. It was not really easy in Campagnolo because of the mindset of the company. Is still it's part of like the heritage of Italy as well. If you look at the market requests in Italy, they still ride 23, 25 millimeters tires. You know, they are not really ready to that kind of innovation. So I now understand at that time, because for me at that time, Italy was like, people, some of them were ready, but I knew that it was like, okay, it's not what really they are asking for. So the company was not really ready at the time. But really, when I came to Hans, and from the very first day we started to talk about this project, it was amazing, because we got into each other with ideas and what to do. And I remember it was like beginning of August, we went to Eurobike at the end of August, after 2 weeks, and we went. I knew I've been going to that wind tunnel that we are using as well since years. So I told them, look, I would love to bring you to the wind tunnel at the Airbus facility. That would be, it's important for me that you see what we are going to use. So we went to the wind tunnel. I introduced each other, the two parts, and we booked straight away a test tunnel, a wind tunnel test on that day. It was incredible. And then we that project really took the very first part of my life in Hunt. In Hunt, of course, I'm it's like it's a lot easier than in a lot of company, because we are we were a small company. We are not really more as a small company, because in 3 years' time since I moved, I guess we almost doubled the people in Hunt. When I joined the company, we were something like probably 17, not more than 20 for sure. And now we are 35, 36, between like people in customer service, people in dispatch, other engineers with me. Like, I'm head of the engineer, but before I was mainly dealing with suppliers in China, with the technical department there. But what we are doing now is just building a proper engineering department with a test house, like doing a lot of things. So, but being relatively small give us the opportunity really to just go step by step and move fast and try to do, okay, we want to do these prototypes, we want to get that tested, we want to get that committed to a mold, and it's really exciting, you know. It's really nice. And yeah, in 6 months from August that I started to work for Hunt, in January next year we went to the wind tunnel with the 3D printed prototype of the 48 limitless, and it was unbelievable. It was great, and it was for me it was important, because it was the confirmation that my ideas were correct, where sometimes in the past not everyone really wanted to hear to me, you know. It was something like, oh yeah, because that's not possible because of the minor. But it was really exciting to see people who were willing to do that, you know, because at the end, having a wheel that is 34 millimeter wide with all this technology, it was not easy at the beginning. We were excited. We were, oh yeah, we were going to launch, we tested, but it was not easy because a lot of new technology, a lot of new things to put together. And but I guess we hit a good position with that, and it was really good.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks very much. I think you answered about 7 of my questions. That was fantastic. that was actually really intriguing.
Please interrupt me, because if I start to talk, I will never stop. So can even you just give me a sign? We should have talked before. If I do like that, please shut up.
Ken?
Yeah, so I'm one of Hunt's newer hires. As you can tell, I'm from the US. So I was hired on about a year ago to head up sort of brand marketing and general marketing here in the United States. More specifically on the road side, leading into triathlon and TT, because I do have a background in that area, but primarily anything to do with drop bars. And more recently, actually last week, we just signed a lease at a nice little shop in Boulder, where we just hired on a new colleague as well, who's going to be
cool.
heading up our US market. So together we'll be going to gravel events, mountain bike events, and triathlon TT events when everything resumes once again.
Yeah, going to Dirty Kansas.
Yeah, that's on our list. We'll see what happens. Unfortunately, we sponsor an athlete, Amy Charity, who is a co-race organizer for SBT Gravel.
Yeah.
And they just canceled theirs along with along with Leadboat. So those 2 gravel events were the first to go, which are in the last week of August. So we'll see if
that happened just recently too, didn't it? Like a couple of days ago, did it? I think I read.
Yeah, it was quite unfortunate, and it seems like Ironman's postponed every one of their events until after the new year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens for Dirty Kansas and Eurobike in November now. So
yeah, Eurobike is already going to be B2B. They don't do any like the show it was used to be. So there won't be public. There won't be like all these people going around. So yeah, it's an odd year, this one.
And of course, there's no Interbikes gone as well.
Yep. So Sea Otter, I think, is postponed until November as well.
Yeah,
I think it's a few weeks before Eurobikes.
I think they're having their first Australian sea otter as well.
Yeah, yeah. I'd heard about that, but I wasn't planning on making it out. But yeah, so we'll see. I think in Australia and New Zealand, you guys are doing pretty well because you've been able to just lock down the island pretty tightly. I mean, it's already tight trying to get a mango out of Australia, so you can only imagine.
Well, where I am in Tasmania, we're on an island from another island,
Yeah.
so it's even harder. It's even harder to get to where we are. So we've been, especially in my town, which is the capital city, Hobart. We've had very few cases in
good.
Hobart at all.
Yeah, that's very good.
Quite isolated as it is. So Liz, I'll go back to you, and you've sort of covered this, but I'll go a little bit more in depth with this. Since you came on board with Hunt Wheels, and you've already mentioned your ideas about going into a wind tunnel, how do you see has the way you produce wheels changed, or how's Hunt's wheels, or how's their thinking changed, how they produce wheels?
Well, it really was a bit what I said already. It's the way, the approach, because basically I have to do the same, you know, for an engineer and technical stuff, you always have to follow the same step. It's the way you can go through the steps. You know, sometimes in other companies, you have to wait for an approval and another approval, or while in Hunt, firstly, being like the only one to approve some technical stuff, it was quite like easy. But really having Tom and Peter, the co-founder, ready to, with an open mind to new ideas, they really said, yeah, we really believe that what you said is correct. We want you to prove that. So it was like, it's the approach and the step, but really once it was cool to it was cool, you know, because I could go to production people and have something made there, because we were thinking about doing something. Of course, in Ant it's not possible. We don't have any production in UK. We do everything in Taiwan. So sometimes you really have to rely on a sketch on a computer. But anyway, we could do like something different. We could make 3D printed prototypes, because making a mold straight out of an idea is quite pricey, is expensive. So you cannot really commit yourself to something that in the end is not going to work. But it was nice to make those prototypes, doing some testing. It was really cool to make it was like doing a proper engineer, you know, even though it was a small company, but really speeding up all the process. And for me, it was really also good. I knew already Felix Schaffenmeyer. I would never be able to pronounce that surname, but it's the product manager of Schwalbe. So when we started to work on the project, the first thing that I did, which sometimes is not easy in other company because of like internal policy or people that don't want to share information with other parts, or because they are worried about information that someone can steal. We are not like that now. We are open.
Right. All the departments can work together.
Exactly. And really sometimes in big company, you are really not allowed to tell outside a lot, because people are worried of information that can spread out easily. I knew what I was going to tell to the other part, and it was easy to do that. But that was really allowed me to work on the project in the way people should do. So when I just got the information on the tire and we were just designing everything, it was really just quite simple and easy. That's why in 6 months we could go from a design to a physical prototypes and start making a lot of like testing and stuff. And it was really, yeah, it was cool.
And that's what sets you apart from other manufacturers as well.
Sorry, say again, please.
And that's what sets you apart from other manufacturers.
Oh, well, for me, from my experience, a bit yes, because it's really the possibility of going straight to something like that you want to do and you want to test. Probably there would be outside many other companies who are like that. But really, from my point of view, my experience, it was like that. It was a bit similar with 3T because in 3T it was a small company as well. So again, when you it's a bit a combination of the size of the company, but also he has to be with the proper mindset. He has to be ready, because if you work in a small company where they are not really willing to look like apart from tomorrow, there is no point. But having that combination of right people in the right place is what just makes everything like perfect, you know. So
yeah, something we really hold dear to us at Hunt is that we're able to be super nimble. Whereas, as Luisa says, a lot of time there's very many layers of confirmation and approval that need to happen before you can even print. And to new ideas allows for a lot more creativity and just fluidity when going through a wheel development process.
And I guess the big difference as well, which I didn't mention, which makes us different in terms of our approach, is that we think that everywhere in the bicycle industry, people are cyclists or they understand the world they are working for, but it's not true, I tell you. I know many other companies, many other places where it's not like that, where people are working on something like a crankset and they don't even know what it's for. In Hunt, it's great that we all just know, we have a passion for that. We know what we want to do. We know what we would like to get as a customer. That's why we have, when I said it's being a small company with the right attitude, the right mindset, because we know what we are talking about, we know who we are talking to, and it's like understanding the needs. In some other companies, probably even just good company, ready and small, oh, we don't know if tubeless is going to be the right choice. So it's something like a bit not really sure about what the market wants, but we know that because sometimes we start to work on something because we want itself first, you know, and it's something like, we know we should think about, we be speaking with people around and we were mentioning that, so probably we could be, so that was make, I guess, us a bit different.
Let's talk about one of your latest wheel sets, the Hunt 48 Limitless Aero Disc wheel set. It's a lot to get out. So I've read the white paper, I've read the paper, read the tech. It's claiming to be the fastest in the world. And it's, you know, latest range of the Aero Disc wheel sets, which are part of the Limitless range. You've talked about going into a wind tunnel and you've tested your wheels compared to the likes of Roval, Zip, DT Swiss and Envy. For everyone else, can you take us quickly through your white paper? And you've published it on your website. Why have you done that?
We wanted to be like clear and wanted to give people just data and give them the possibility to choose on something that is right there. I was working in, when you do research, sometimes it's not easy to find information. And in our industry, a lot of people can claim, oh, we've been doing that, with that. And then they do tests, they put down graphs, but it's just not really telling you much more than a graph on that. And, you know, you could even just think that that was made up. You know, it's something we wanted to really be honest and say, look, we went through all these stages. When we went to the tunnel in January, we didn't know that that project was turning out to be great, we brought a journalist with us just because we wanted to be like clear and not just being someone who, oh, we are cheating or we are claiming, oh yeah, they are just. So we went to the wind tunnel in January with those prototypes with a journalist, and it was, I remember when we got the tunnel as a big screen on the top, on the wall, where you can see the trend of the aerodynamic drag live, apart from being on the computer of the engineer there. And I remember what I did when I saw that, and the journalist was laughing because, and it was cool at the same time, you know. So we really wanted to cover everything. So we it took time for us to write down that white paper, because it was something that we didn't think about at the beginning. We already knew that we wanted to give all the information out, but we didn't know what and how to do that. So when we finally just had everything ready, we started to write it down. It was easy for me to collect information because it was everything that I had with me. It was a bit hard with English because sometimes you don't really, even though it's fine for me, but it was like, so we went through some like kind of revision to be, but yeah, we thought that it was the right way to do. And we hope that more and more companies are starting to do the same, you know, because people want to know. We have a lot of questions from customer service, technical information, technical questions that they want to us to reply to. So we said it's going to be great to prepare a document that shows and describe everything we have done possibly in a good way, in a proper way for them. And that would save us also a lot of questions from people outside, or people could be ready, you know, to that. Okay, we have read that, we want to know more. And so it could be a lot easier and can go more specifically into the topic.
So tell us about the 48 Limitless Aero wheelset.
Well, yeah, as I said, the idea was there, but not all properly there. So when we started to talk, it was still, okay, should we go that wide? Should be trying to remain like more conventional? So we really starting from a very kind of conventional rim shape, which was anyway quite big compared to the current rims that were on the market. And then through iterations, we went to like all the 5 shapes that we came through. So there was a standard one and a very, very big, bulky, chunky rim. And when we said, okay, these are the 5 prototypes, we cannot commit to make a mold of all the 5 to go to the wind tunnel and test. And at that time, we were looking for doing CFD, which now we have in-house. We didn't do at that time because the timing was not right. We couldn't really give all the information to an outsourced company. It was so expensive as well, I have to say. It was not, we couldn't really afford to have a kind of test and research on those 5 for that amount of money. And still, you know, no matter how close to the results and the real world CFD can be, it still is not very precise. So you still have to go and make wind tunnel testing to prove that the shape. So at that time we decided, okay, better to jump that step and go directly to the tunnel. So when we made the 5 prototypes, the shape, what I always mention, was made around the tire. It was a whole system together, the tire and the profile, because this is, you know, it's aerodynamic works. You hit something that is not, when you design a wheel, it's not just the wheel, the leading edge of the system. You have the tire, which is the main part, who just interact with the flows. And then you have to make the right combination, the smooth transition between the tire and the profile. You have to design the profile which can become one big thing with the tire. So when I was that's why I started to talk with the product manager in Rwaldi, because we got prototypes of their tire. I don't remember how many dimension width of the tire I was measuring according to that pressure, different pressure, to see which was more or less the average width of the tire. And once I had that like information, I said, okay, this is the shape that the balloon of the tire occupies, so let's shape the rim around that. And the idea, the main reason was that I really wanted to get the airflow when we had the airflow coming to the tire, no matter if it's in front, wind condition, or lateral side. The aim was really to get the airflow stay attached as long as possible to the lateral surface, because in that way there is a moment when the airflow detaches anyway, and the bigger the area backward, the bigger the turbulence is and the bigger the drag. If you allow the airflow to stay attached for a longer time, the separation happens later when the void's turbulence area backward is a lot smaller. So if the area where the turbulence arises is smaller, the vortex are a lot smaller, and you can get a lot less drag that just sucks the air back. So that was the idea, to just shape in that way. And but too big is too much, probably. That's why the proto file was really a lot bigger, and probably there was the separation of the airflow was happening even before, because and creating really the opposite that we wanted. So when we went to the tunnel, we found out that that shape, the proto 3, was the best one. So we said, well, that's the shape that we want to do. And it was 22.5 millimeter internal width and 34 the maximum width. So as I always said, yeah, being the fastest in the range of the sub 50 millimeter style, we have to say, it was like cool, but it was just the first step, you know, because now there was the way how we achieve and make that rim, which is not going to be super heavy or not possible to manufacture. And there was a combination of like things that we were talking with a supplier who was applying certain technology in the factory. So it was for us the perfect combination, because we knew that that way we wanted to achieve that. But sometimes you need to deal with suppliers you work with, because some are not capable, someone don't have technology. But in that moment, it was really all a combo, because they were using that technology in other like components, in other like parts of, and we came with that idea. So we, before talking to everyone, even in the companies, some people were not knowing about that. We started to work on the patent side. Sorry, there was a pop-up. We started to work on the patent, because we, before going out and start to talk with people, we had to just be sure that no one could go and steal our idea. So we took a lot of time just with a patent attorney to just put down all the ideas. So we patented the idea of using those combination of low density polymer with carbon pre-preg to fill that area and allow us to be a lot lighter, but be wide the necessary, because we can just fill up to like 3 millimeters. It looks like a huge amount. It's not, you would say 3 millimeters, that's all. Yeah, but 3 millimeters of pre-preg could be 100 grams heavier on a rim all around the surface. So we put the patent down, and yeah, we spent a lot of time in Taiwan with our suppliers. I was making a lot of like trip there to try to let them understand. I was working with the molds side and the design, because we needed two molds, one with the ridge. You've seen the groove of the rim. Basically, the rim comes with that kind of groove where we can put the polymer inside and go through a second stage of post-curing process, but which allow us to make one block of carbon pre-preg and those low density polymer. And yeah, with that we can save 50 grams a rim, which is quite a lot. When we finally got the real molds, we said, well, I need to go to the wind tunnel again because I don't want to get a surprise. It couldn't be, but the idea was, well, if we were the best, we could be a lot better. But actually, we just got some tiny improvement because the 3D printed prototypes were already very good in terms of smoothness and finishing. So we got like an improvement, but it was just for us the confirmation that was right. And yeah, we started to do the first samples. We starting to test a lot. We had that issue with the recall that it was we dealt in a very good way, I guess, because in 3 months time we were able to go through revision, find the problem, which it was not a problem. It's still, I guess, a bit due to the misuse of the wheel, because that is a proper Rhodes wheel. But we cannot.
I think I have to say that you did handle the recall and the revision of the wheel, and how open you were about it. I think you did handle that actually quite well. A lot of companies, you find that for various reasons there's a recall, and that might be the last you actually hear of it. There's no further information given. Everything's very silent. So I've got to commend you on that. You were very open with why there was a revision, or what your thoughts behind it were, and how you actually dealt with that.
Yeah, and we did a lot of testing in-house. We never had problem because we were using the wheel the way it should be used, but there is a point we cannot really force people not to use the wheel the way they want. So if there is someone going to rougher roads or rocky roads or doing something like that, and it happened, we need to. And it was for us, it was really. It was shocking, but we were able to do, and really the thing for me was to got to a point where that wheel is really now probably even more safe than it should be, because we went through a lot of impact testing. We smashed, I don't know how many rims, making heavy weights, impact weights of all kind of shapes to hit the tire, hit the rim. So we are now confident that it works, and we were also happy that people, we had two kind of reaction. There were people who were waiting for that because they wanted to just hit us and be there, you go on. But some other people, they were lovely with us, and they understood all our customer. There was not a single customer who was angry or said, I don't want the wheel back. They were waiting for the wheel to be back, and they understood the process, and it was really nice. But sometimes there are other people who just wait there for the bad things happen, which is not nice. We are definitely not that kind of people.
Ken, you were going to say something?
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, I think that how we handled it just is sort of how we handle everything, as you mentioned before with the white paper, why we did it. And it's essentially because we know there's a lot of claims being made in marketing departments all around the outdoor industry, specifically relating to bikes. And we think that a lot of companies make great products. And so we want to be as open as we can with our customers to say, here's your choices. Here's how we stack up against your choices. We'll let you decide. In a couple of the other rim brake aerodynamicist wheels that Luisa made, we were second, sometimes third against the wheels that we tested against, and we still released the white papers saying those facts. And I remember Cycling Tips came out with an article saying new wheels by Hunt like verifies or claims that Roval is faster. And it's, again, we're not trying to persuade people to buy our wheels for any certain claim that we're making. We're just trying to be upfront as much as we can with our customers. And
you mentioned clincher wheel set. So on the clinchers, the braking surface is a GripTech Balsalt ceramic fibre. A concern for many will be, will these work in the wet? And can you tell us about the surface on the wheel, your ceramic fibre that you've managed to put onto a clincher wheel set?
Well, we don't have ceramic fibers in our wheels. We have carbon prepreg combined with a kind of special low density polymers, which is in between. The ceramic, we have ceramic bearings in the hub because we have a collaboration with ceramic speed. So
I think sorry, Luisa, I think he's talking about in our rim brake wheels, the brake track of the rim brake wheels.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
I was thinking too, yeah. So, well, yeah, that's again, it works because it's been used on disc, on rotor disc, some kind of this application. So it's again a way we have those technology available with our suppliers. We know that these are things that can work. So we said again, why don't add like plus technology to people. So we've been doing a lot of testing again with combination of brake pads and those ceramic fiber in the surface. And once we know that things works, is just giving people what is the best. It's the best combination, and not even adding a lot of like money for that, because that's another issue, not another issue, it's another topic, the way of our business model. But we could apply technology to our wheels and not having those be charged a lot and having customer pay a lot. So that's why we are using ceramic speed bearings, and we are not super expensive with that. We can apply like filament winding to some of our wheels. We have carbon spokes, so we could have access to some technology because we have in-house knowledge. We work with great suppliers in Taiwan who have like those technology be possible, and yeah, we can do the right thing for a customer.
What are the when it comes to clincher wheels, what brake pads have you been testing or using with your clincher wheels?
We have done a lot of like again a lot of testing. We have a specific. We don't do a lot of. We don't do research in terms of pads and rubber and all this like combination. We simply, what we can do is just to make a kind of like analysis, benchmark stuff. We were looking at pads around. We were going directly to suppliers, of course, so we could have direct access to them. And again, we look at the combination of the braking that has to be good, but it has to work in all condition, in wet condition, in dry condition, and even in that time where the worst part is when you pass from wet condition to dry condition, when you start to have all the residual, the water that is still there. So that's the worst condition. And again, we select like suppliers or parts that we think they are good, and we go through all the testing, like breaking what we do is always just follow the ISO standards and the rules, but we always put some additional stuff. For example, we don't have brake testing machine in house because it's hard to make, and it's not really something that it's up to us, but we have burns testing now. So we are now starting to just destroy wheels for just pumping up the pressure, and
sounds like fun.
Yeah, and you know, the thing is that we know that that's the ISO standard, but sometimes the standards are I'm not saying that they are too soft, but if you want to make development of something, you have to go higher, you have to just go above. So that's why we say we do the standards, but we always trying to just test stronger condition, more conservative condition that allows us to understand where to go and what we can take off in terms of weight, or where we can choose that brake pad or that kind of bearing. And yeah.
Something you just passed over, actually, one of the major things to consider with Hunt wheels when compared to Mavic and the competition is the difference in cost. The wheels are on par in performance with other brands. How do you manage to produce a quality wheel and keep the price low or relatively low?
And do you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, it really boils down at the end of the day to our business model. For the most part, we are direct to consumer. Any shop who wants to purchase a wheel for a customer can do so, and we have a built-in margin for shops. But primarily, we're direct to consumer, so all of our products ship from our office in Brighton or just outside of Brighton, and that allows us to operate a lot leaner than the traditional cycling company, as well as we're quite how do I say this? We don't pump a huge marketing budget. Like, I'm one of, I think, 4 or 5 people in the marketing department, each one covering a respective category within cycling. We don't go to events. We don't sponsor huge events. We'll sponsor our local like mountain bike race whenever we can, or just small things like that, but not having to fund a huge marketing budget, as well as operating on the leaner side of things, helps reduce the costs for our consumers. Because at the end of the day, every dollar we spend is our customer's dollar. So we want to remain sort of tight ship, or run a tight ship, so that we can divert that money instead of maybe sponsoring, I don't know, a pro Conti team to have Luisa go to the wind tunnel for 5 times a year, or how many times she wants. So it's a combination, but I think we're still so small and so nimble that we're able to operate on a lot leaner business model than most.
Thanks. And Ken, something you and I've talked about, gravel riding and racing is taking off. So I guess this is for you, Luisa. Does aero matter on gravel roads? Wider tyres, wider rims with gravel bikes are standard, but can they be aero at the same time?
Well, aero matters if you want the aero matters. Because of course, if you are someone like me who really, if I do gravel, I'm still like, sometimes I'm scared because of the rocky, and when I go descending, it's for another kind of gravel rides, and you don't mind about that. You don't have to use an aero gravel wheel. But there are races like Dirty Kansas that they can be won because of all those small like improvements, and definitely an aero gravel rim combined with the aero, well, you cannot do aero gravel tire, unfortunately, but what you can do is to take that tire, which is probably the most used one in a race, a gravel race, and try to shape the rim around that. And we did just a first set of wind tunnel testing with our gravel prototypes. It works, because when you put a relatively small tire, a 38 millimeters tire with like small knobs, and you tested that on that shape, by putting a big tire, a proper gravel tire, already 42 with that shape, the aerodynamic improves as well. So again, it's a combination of the system. And again, it matters for people who want the aerodynamics matters, because if you want to, I know, I've heard about, you know, you could ride, you could do a race with a smaller tire and get a puncture, and then you waste 10 minutes because you have to walk or just replace your tire, and then you just screw up your race. That's true, but still you have to be able to get the most of the advantages you can get while you are racing and you are riding. So this is our idea. We are now at the I'm happy because it should be coming, some samples should be coming soon now, because when we went to the wind tunnel, we did the shape, and the shape works already. So we got already the confirmation of that. So now I'm working on the layup side with the supplier. We are defining some like version and testing which one is the strongest, the light, the combination of being strong, light, and passing all the tests. So we will be getting some prototypes that we are starting to test, but really it matters. It could give you, we are talking about many watts that you can save in long distance races. So it really matters.
I think it's definitely a tough question to answer, seeing as how you can be on either side of the fence. Like when I ride gravel, I don't necessarily care when I'm on my steel bike and knobby tires, but for someone who's racing competitively at Dirty Kansas and putting aero bars on their gravel bike and making sure that they're in a tucked position even if they don't have it, or riding, I don't know, deeper section rims with the knobby tires attached. I think for the people who are those people, it very much does matter. I mean, Colin Strickland, who just set DK's record, averaged just over 20 miles an hour and 270, 290 normalized power. So for him, aerodynamics would mean the difference between first and second, or second and third. So I think, yeah, Luis is very right in saying that it matters for a certain person, but it doesn't necessarily matter for everybody. And
it matters
for
the people that it matters for, but it doesn't matter for everyone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, the difference, you know what it is? In roads, now we are all used. We have more people, like everyday riders, that want to get the bicycle of like Cancellara, you know, they want to get the pro, because they are used to it. They think that we all think that we can be fast on roads. Gravel is something that is a bit new, and, you know, probably people will come to that as well in the years, but we are used to talk about that for daily riders like me. When we talk about roads, why shouldn't be like that with gravel? Because yeah, it is the use, and now people are starting to just see gravel in a different way. And of course, for example, gravel in UK is totally different from gravel probably in USA or Italy, and so probably here aero doesn't really matter, because you are stuck in the mud, and yeah, you can be you can be a super jet, but once you are there, and there's nothing to do. But yeah.
So when do you think that we might see a aero gravel wheel set from Hunt? You mentioned that you're getting you're doing the layups now, is that correct?
Yes, well, originally the idea, in 10 days time, we should have been in Kansas in Emporia for Dirty Kansas. So the idea at the beginning was to have prototypes ready now in this time of the year. Unfortunately and luckily, this pandemic just changed everything, and so the idea is still to launch the wheel sets, officially launch the wheel sets for Dirty Kansas, if Dirty Kansas is going to happen. If not, probably we will launch that again as well in September time. So now as I said, I'm getting prototypes, real one. So the next step, once I define the layup and go through all the initial tests, is to get as many people as possible riding them. We have already a couple of professional athletes testing them. A lot of us, we could do a lot of rides around. So the idea is to have something ready for September anyway, going through as many tests as possible and just do, yeah, because
you've got an entry for DK, Ken.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I unfortunately do.
Are you doing the full race?
That was the initial plan. Training's derailed since, but we'll see. I think if I were to go at this point in time, I'd probably just stick to the 100. We have athletes who can do the 200 and put up impressive times.
I think it's 310 or 320 kilometers.
Yes.
The full one, isn't it? I think 250 miles or something similar.
Yeah, because there's the DK 200, which is 200 miles, and yeah, I think you're right, about 320K, and then there's the DK XL, which is 350 miles, which I think is 500K.
If I was going to do it, aero would matter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And something to congratulate Hunt on is that not too many companies offer a lifetime crash replacement, so that's pretty rad.
Yeah, we're pretty stoked about that. I think it's definitely a turning point for the company. We've sort of gotten to the size where we're starting to be known more than not. Before, I know, even a year ago when I was following Hunt just on social media, I would check out forums occasionally and see like the debate about how Hunt is a fake bike company. And I think now we've finally broken through, especially with the 48 Limitless project and everything Luis has done with all of the wheels that she's launched. I think since she started 3 years ago, we've come out with, 6 or 7 wheels of your own design, Luisa, I believe.
Yeah.
And now that we're able to fully say that we stand by our products no matter what, by offering this lifetime policy, I think it's definitely going to be a lot easier for people to see us as a legit company and a legitimate competitor in the space. So I'm excited.
And Luisa, is there any plans, I guess probably for my own liking, for a time trial disc?
Yes, yes, there is. We've been talking about that since the very beginning. At the beginning, it was like for us, well, probably it's not our market yet, you know, at the beginning for us, but definitely it's something that Ken always is pushing for. Yeah, we've been working on that. I've already done a couple of shapes. It's not easy to work with that because again, it's a commitment in terms of mold and cost, and we don't have the numbers to completely cover those costs, you know, because we are not a company who, oh yeah, we make this wheel, we are going to sell. Not even big companies sell many of these wheels, so it's a huge commitment for us. So it's a discussion with suppliers which term we can achieve, you know, combining our technology, our knowledge in terms of shape with technology that we can use from them. So, but it's something that we've done a couple of CFD simulation with different shapes and different texture for the surface. But yeah, I would say it could happen in 3 months time. It could happen in a year's time. I've been working on that since a couple of years already, but okay. Yeah, it's a matter of finding the right combination of the technology we want to apply, the shape, the suppliers who wants to just come towards us and help us in terms of commitment. That's the thing.
So what would be, if we're going to be using a set of the 48s, what would be the tire of choice?
Definitely a 28 and the Joalve Pro 128, it would be that choice, because I have to say that tire is really the fastest, one of the fastest tire on the market in terms of even when I was doing my previous wind tunnel test, the Conti 4000 was always the best one. This tire is it's better than the Continental tire. And for me, it's just the way I design the combination, the system. So a 20mm tire is definitely the perfect tire width, and the Pro One is a perfect choice. Of course, there could be like other brands, but still a 28mm tire would be the best combination.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, Ken? Overall?
No, I think Luisa's hit it all, and I mean we've touched on pretty much everything that we at least aim to get on with the reveal show. But 15 minutes goes by a lot quicker than you would think. No, yeah, I mean it was nice to tease out the Gravel Aero wheel set that we'll be coming out with shortly, and yeah, as Luisa said, the disc wheel has been something I've been pushing.
There is a deeper version of the 48 that I've been working on as well. So that would be probably will be coming at the end of the year. So I just confirmed the mold, and so supplier is going to open the mold, working on the mold. So that would be 60mm deep. Same like limitless technology, a little bit like shallower, not that wide, because it's for a different use that is coming soon. So
yeah, that one will be yours, Rob. Pure crit machine.
Yeah, yeah.
Just send it.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
But yeah.
Well, thanks very much for your time, Louise. It was fantastic meeting you. And thanks very much, Ken, for setting this up. And thanks very much for getting up so early as well. I appreciate that.
Thank you to you, Rob. Thank you very much for having us.
Thanks very much. I'll talk to you both soon.
Sounds good. You have a good rest of your evening.
Bye.
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 Or rest of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.